Welcome back to Cooking with Allizard. I'm Alan, with me and my co-host.
Alex here, stirring pots and occasionally poking the chef.
Today I am going to stir the pot a little bit. So apparently I saw this evic reel called "What is a MOSFET?" And yeah, that is a airsoft term. I keep seeing it, and this is something that I've been dealing with, and it's one of my pet peeve pretty much my entire career at Crytek. Instead of just accepting it, I went on our Facebook community groups and asked the community what is the most annoying airsoft terminology you hear. Apparently, I may have opened up a can of worms. Alex, tell me what are some of the names or terms people brought up in the discussion group?
Quite a few, actually. You had MOSFET versus ETU or ECU, LiPo ready, aircraft or military grade aluminum, metal gearbox, drop in ready, custom. Then there's DMR versus SPR, Milsim real steel, professional airsofter, hard recoil, blowback, CO2 or HPA, meaning more power by default, and a couple of things that feel more like personal grievances more than terminology, like Tamiya plugs, 18 plus, speed soft, call your hits. And of course, you threw Marui standard onto the pile yourself. But looking at it, those are all the same kind of complaints, right? Some are technical, some are marketing language, some feel like terms that just drifted. So before we try to put the entire Airsoft dictionary on trial, let's start with what set you off. What did Evite get wrong about MOSFETs exactly?
Well, tell you what, you and AI, why don't you give me your definition of MOSFET?
Sure. A MOSFET is a metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor, basically an electronic switch. In an AEG, it lets a tiny trigger signal control a much larger current to the motor. Something like an IRLB 3034 is a MOSFET people have used in DIY airsoft builds. And that's exactly where I think your eyebrow shoots up, right? A MOSFET is a component, not the whole ETU package. But when Evite calls the whole thing a MOSFET, is that your issue?
Well, yeah, that's actually like calling entire computer a CPU. And I know people do that, but again, terminology should be used correctly, and that's one of my biggest problem with people just so lazy calling certain things, addressing the entire thing.
Right. So the shorthand bugs you.
Correct.
But if the average player hears MOSFET and just thinks modern electronics, is it doing a job even if it's fuzzy?
No, I think then you should call it exactly what it is, right? So ETU, electronic trigger unit, or ECU, electronic control unit. So either one will work, right? It's a complete module with functions, programmable memory, sensors, all built in. It's a lot more. If you just call it a MOSFET, you're really dumbing down the whole thing. And it to me is almost disrespectful to people who study, double E. So um if you I mean seriously, I mean talking about MOSFET and ETU, ECU, it's a simple word. It's not that hard to say the correct word.
I hear that. But if that's the standard we hold to, words have to mean what they technically are, then when we get to LiPo ready, I'm going to have to ask whether that standard still holds
Right.
and whether that line stays consistent. Just a fair warning.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. So let me give you a bit of backstory what's going on. Um, LiPo ready, the term, I think I will probably want it to get blamed for. The reason why is I planted that idea to Peter. And just for the record, if you look into all the back product announcement, and KWA back in 2008 is the only company back then that make product announcement using LiPo ready as a marketing term. Remember that conversation we had before about meeting Peter at Region of Heroes?
Yeah, I remember that. You said you two were just chatting and he showed you that version 3 gearbox?
Yeah.
Mhm.
During that conversation, I somehow throw out the term LiPo ready. The reason why, because I was using lithium polymer battery on my P90, which is my favorite gun. And those of you who know the Tokyo Marui version of P90, it was a very small, it was notoriously small battery space. It will only fit a 8.4 nickel metal hydride. It couldn't even fit a 9.6. And if you need a 9.6, you need to add a extended butt pad. Back then, I realized that the 7.4 LiPo actually fit in the same space. And in fact, the LiPo performs better than an 8.4. On paper, sounds like 8.4 is better than 7.4. Again, I didn't know much back then. I mean, I wasn't even officially in the industry, but all I know is how I feel about it. So the discharge rate on the 7.4 was actually pretty good, and actually on a full charge is better than 8.4. So I just throw the turn LiPo ready at Peter, and he liked it so much, and he started using it for all the Kitway new products. Now, the reason why he did it, because he needed a story. And back then, the Kitway and for the forgot the name, GX2 gearbox, but anyway, the gearbox they have is fully reinforced. I mean, it's got a much beefier front. The corners are radius, and the gears are really thick. I mean, those tracks are thick. So the gearbox can take quite a beating. So I guess he needed something to push the envelope, and LiPo Ready sounds tactical or cool enough to say, hey, this gearbox can take the stress. That's how the term being used in Airsoft.
So it was less a technical spec and more like, hey, this thing fits and works reliably. So let's call it something cool. That seems pretty harmless, but yeah, it snowballed, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't expect that word to haunt me after all those years.
Yeah, words have long memories, apparently. But hey, at least it's a good story.
Well, I mean, it tells you the same thing about using the right terminology, and the word LiPo ready was not clearly defined back then. All it is it's just a pure marketing term. I mean, we finally able to define what's LiPo ready much later on, but back then we didn't know much. All it is yep, if it works, it gearbox being beefy, and it will take a LiPo. That's it.
Right. Simple as if it fits and survives, call it good. But now people treat it like a regulated spec, like it means something precise. And that's where the fights come in.
Yeah, and I think that the term actually means something until the ECU and ETU came along. Before that, I don't think, yeah, it doesn't really work at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Once ETUs and ECUs show up, the electrical side starts doing the heavy lifting, not just the brute gearbox strength.
Yeah.
Before that, LiPo Ready was kind of a vibes-based label more than a standard. Okay, so that list you got from Facebook was long. We're not going to cover every term. Some are similar complaints with different names, and some are personal pet peeves. We've got LiPo Ready in our marketing shorthand bucket. Another one people threw out was aircraft grade aluminum. That sounds technical, but does that even mean anything? So, Alan, what the hell is aircraft grade aluminum?
As far as I know, it does not mean anything. Even if you look it up, there is no clear definition what aircraft grade aluminum is. There is definition on what is the material being used, like 6061 T6 or 7075 T6. These are more detailed, I guess. So if you are writing, or if I am writing a product specification or introducing a product, I would rather use the actual material name instead of just calling aircraft grade aluminum. That's just pure marketing again.
So it's not the aluminum you object to, it's the label. Precision and clarity, then. All right, what's next?
Um, let's see here. There are some names that probably got shifted. Let's go with like DMR.
DMR, right. That's a drift issue, not marketing. People hear roll, build spec, field rule, and talk past each other. Let's unpack that.
Okay, so DMR, as far as I understand it, is designated marksman rifle. Now, I'm not so sure that is it referring to a person, a role, or it's the actual firearm or classification of the firearm. Now, in terms as a firearm, usually is a single shot bolt action rifle or semi-auto only rifle. So applying that onto airsoft can be a little bit tricky. Now, these rifle are usually in the bigger caliber, which is like or 762. Yeah, 762. Those are much bigger bullets. Now, a M4, they are using a smaller bullet, which is the 223 or 556, and magazine is smaller than a 762. That means that if you're using an M4 platform to build a DMR, your goal is actually want to shoot a really far. I mean, you want a long barrel, you want a scope, those things great. You can shoot really far. You could probably build it to shoot, maybe close to 100 feet. However, um, that is still an M4. The platform is still an M4. Therefore, some gaming feel like the milsim, they don't like people who use an M4 platform and calling it DMR. And some will give you a pass if you lock down the full auto function to semi-auto only. However, some game feel they will really strict, like you cannot use an M4 as a DMR because it's totally different classification of the weapon. But personally, though, if I have a choice to build something like that, yeah, I would like to build like a proper DMR platform.
Right. A real DMR is like a real doctrinal thing, right? In Airsoft, it ends up being more of a vibe or rule set thing. So no wonder people talk past each other. That flows right into real steel, which is another borrowed term that feels kind of futzy. If you want to touch on that.
Oh boy. Yeah, real steel. I know a lot of people using real steel as not necessarily an airsoft term. This is a firearm term. However, a lot of people referring a pistol as a real steel, and I understand why people do that. However, in terms of a professional setting, probably not a good idea. As a matter of fact, that when I was working at Chris USA during trade show, we were specifically told do not ever use the word real steel. Use the word firearms or weapon system.
Right. So neutral language in professional settings just keeps it clear and avoids missignaling. In the community, though, it's casual. Sounds like you're not out to scold anyone, just model accuracy when it matters. All right. So wrapping this up with one big one, Marui standard. This is where folks really dig in. Some say it's de facto, some say that's nonsense. Alan, where do you draw the line? Feel free to toss your drop in laugh in there too.
Uh, well, tell you what, what's your take?
My push would be when enough people use a term the same way, it kind of becomes a standard. But I know you disagree.
Yeah, I totally, I can't accept that. Um, Usually, when people talk about standard, it should be a documented, right, published information. Let me give you a
Right.
good example. MacPool have released something called the MLOG years ago, and they want people to use their accessory based on the MLOG specification. So they published it, and all this information are already open. That means that people can know exactly how to build accessory based on that, what they specify, right?
Mhm.
However, compared to Marui, have Marui ever published anything, whether it's the gearbox dimension or the magazine dimension or anything? I don't think so. I haven't seen any documents throughout all the years, none. So they haven't published anything. Everything that we have after that, it's all reverse engineering, right? One of the biggest problem with reverse engineering is you completely cut out off tolerance in between. That means that when you're doing injection mode, there's shrinkage, there are some tolerance in between. The tolerance is usually where stuff don't work well. If you got it
Right.
wrong, and that's why you will have like brand A accessory and brand B accessory, they don't fit on your gun, or you don't fit. Better yet,
Huh.
your magazines don't fit. Why why so many new M4 that you have different kind of mags, that some is too tight, some is too loose, some is wobble, some of them don't fit. I mean, if you
Right.
do have a standard, right, they should all work.
Right. Yeah. So for you, standard means documented and testable. Otherwise, it's just compatibility by coincidence.
I mean, likewise, it is the same case as the word drop-in. What drop-in are you talking about? Are you talking about Marui drop-in? I mean, the only way you can use the word drop-in is you're specifying a certain brand. Case in point, Lilacs have made a gear set that is a direct drop-in to the Crytek gearbox. They can do that because we actually share the dimension to Lilac, so they make the gear for it. So in that case, it is a real drop-in.
Then it's anchored to a real spec. Otherwise, drop-in's just a wish, not a spec you can count on.
Yeah, well, especially as they know the information being shared to a third party.
Yeah, exactly. That's when the word actually means something.
I can understand that if you use the term loosely, like Marui compatible or
Right.
Marui spec, I guess I can. I mean, if you follow it exactly, but again, you have so many different brands doing their own thing, the tolerance of differences. So, who's the real standard?
Right. And that line, I think, lands really well. Precision, not vibes. Compatibility, not mythical standards. You know, when we started this, I thought it was just going to be a list of annoying airsoft terms, but there's actually a pattern here. Some are marketing shorthand, some are convenience, and some just drifted over time. That's not necessarily bad. The problem starts when the words stop telling you what something actually is.
I think that's where I'm at. Language change, fine, but if you're a manufacturer or a reviewer writing specs, or you're describing something to the public, just try to be as precise as you can, and that helps everyone. Oh yeah, and I'm still gonna police MOSFET.
All right. I think that's the show for today. Thank you so much for everything you're posting in our Facebook group. It really does help to steer our conversations here. If you want to keep the conversation going, join the group and follow, comment, and share the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alan.
See you next time.